Okay, so tell me about this word anchoring.
Anchoring to me is if you're in a strong emotion or you're in a strong state and something happens, the brain very easily links to something happens with the strong state. What's interesting about it is that sometime in the future, that by the thing that's happened, you can then make a trigger which will bring back that strong state.
So it's an associated memory.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so NLP, you talk about how to make new anchors,
Yes.
how to undo old anchors that aren't helpful anymore.
Correct.
And to re-establish them. So how would you go about establishing a new anchor?
A new anchor. The important thing about anchoring, anchoring per se is remarkably easy. What is sometimes trickier is to get people into good, useful states. If somebody's in a very strong state, almost whatever you do, they will tend to associate with it. But if they're in a weak, fuddly, don't care sort of state, then there isn't really anything to anchor. So a lot of the effort, if you read books on anchoring, it's all about anchoring. Actually, the skill is helping people get into strong, useful states. When you got into a strong, useful state, then there's all sorts of things you can do. You can do it by touch. You can do it by even a look at somebody. You can do it by getting them to. You can do it by a sign, or getting them to have some internal representation. So there are lots of different ways. There are lots of different ways that you can do anchors.
And what about undoing a person's anchor?
I think the best way to undo a person's anchor is really to collapse it, which is where if they have an anchor that's not useful, you then create a very positive anchor for something else, and you fire the two simultaneously, and they will tend to knock each other out.
Okay, and I've heard it said that we've evolved to pay more attention to negative stimulus than we have to positive stimulus, and it's the things that we fear, the things that have hurt us, that we create the strongest anchors for. Although in modern time we have less immediate threats, so almost as if modern man is we have so many anchors which perhaps are less helpful than they would have been in times when we were under danger.
I think that's true. I'm not sure if it's NLP or not, but I think it's a true fact. My own view is that in the past, human survival, depending on reacting very strongly when you saw a snake or a tiger, if you just stayed there and did nothing, you wouldn't live very long. So the people that had strong responses when danger came along would tend to live longer because they would take action or run away or do something different. So I think, like many things that we built up with, that's occurred for a purpose. The interesting thing, of course, now is there aren't so many tigers and snakes around, so that some of those strong anchors are not terribly useful. And I think one of the things that's important with anchoring is that people develop ways of remembering their good experience.